Hello, and welcome to Awesomeness in Atomic City, your podcast for everything awesome in Oak Ridge. I'm your host, Matthew Grambling, and here with me today is the awesome, the astute, the queen of the catalog, Amy Snyder. So how are things today, Amy?
Yeah, they're going pretty well. Yeah, we're just here in the studio and just hanging out, so.
Sounds great. All right, well, Amy and I are both co-workers at the O&O Research Library, but we often fulfill very different roles. So, Amy, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do at the O&O Research Library?
Yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I really started off working on the scientific profiles, which are these documents that the HR department used to hire different researchers and different people within the lab. That was mostly what I started doing. I started learning how to do the interlibrary loans and shipping those out as well. So anyone who wanted a book that was in our cataloging system, I contacted the other libraries around and had them ship it to us, and if we reciprocated that to other libraries across the country. I also do a fair bit of cataloging, like Matthew mentioned earlier, where we get books sent in that we've purchased or people donate to us, and I create the record. I make sure that it looks clean and has all the relevant information that we need, that both the researchers and the library staff need in order to find and use the books accordingly and find the information that they need.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for elaborating a little bit on that. Well, we both sometimes handle some unique documents that kind of pass through our hands. So how do you deal with sensitive material when it comes your way?
Yeah, so most of the time, you know this, like we can't really talk about it just because it's a matter of national security. But yeah, there's a bunch of technical reports that have to do with atomic bombs and radioactive materials, and there was one that was like how to build like
isotope separation.
Yeah, and all that sort of thing. And the nature of my career track, like I worked at like a special collections library where it was mostly like 1800s, like Jane Eyre bound in like leather and like that sort of thing. So I come from a humanities background of more works of poetry and prose. That's what I work with. Like that's what I've worked with primarily. And so it's very interesting to then transfer into a hard science environment where these documents, like if they get into the wrong hands, like could spell disaster for millions of people. Well, before I started at this job, I was like, oh, everyone should have whatever information they're looking for. And I'm a big believer in freedom of speech and letting people have the information that they are looking for. However, now that I'm in this government facility where there's a lot more regulation and the stakes are much higher than just, can little Timmy read a book that is for 13 and up and he's like 10? Now that we're dealing with things that can impact people's lives in a much more real way, I have to reevaluate how I feel about sharing things. If something gives me kind of an uneasy feeling where I'm like, I don't know if I would want someone to read this thing about radioisotopes, I just defer to my boss's judgment, and they usually steer me straight.
Indeed. Well, I know we both have had some unique opportunity or unique issues with some of those requests, especially among our retiree community that sometimes don't seem to quite get the geopolitical situation has changed since 1965, and that we're not always able to release some port reports that were once all right to, and now they're kind of, because of the changing geopolitical situation, they're kind of sensitive. So, well, thank you, Amy, for showing up on the show, and I hope you have a great day. And this has been the inaugural episode of Awesomeness in Atomic City. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.
You too. Take care.